Are you serious? Are you serious? And I mean it. What is going on? There's a gold rush in Russia. And I mean, this is insane, folks. But Vladimir Putin, of course, president of Russia, has ordered his nation to buy all the gold they can get their hands on. And they've now become the fifth largest possessor of gold in the world, fifth nation now, passing China. So this is an incredible situation here. And we've, look, I talked about a little bit earlier, but we had to bring in the experts on this because this large amounts of gold headed in the direction of Vladimir Putin, there's got to be some more to the story. Now, with us today is Colin Plume. He's the expert from Noble Gold Investments. Colin, great to have you on the broadcast today.
Thank you, Pastor Paul. Good to be here.
Colin, this is some really important information here. We've got Putin and Russia buying tons of gold, and we got U.S. Home sales falling off sharply in January. So is there something taking place right now?
Well, first thing, too, that's interesting about that fact about Russia, that they passed China in terms of gold holdings. Always hard to know what China is holding. They're very secretive. Can't really know how much gold they have. They've really been dominating the silver market. China has been buying silver mines for the last few years, mostly because of the solar panel demand. The middle class in China is growing. They love having solar panels on their homes. And, so many people don't realize that there's so much silver used in industry today. It just continues to grow and grow. Every, technology thing, what we're talking on right now, cell phones, computers. So China has really been dominating the silver market. They're continuing to buy silver mines. They will continue to do that. But Russia came to the table, continuing to buy gold. And it's just another signal that, another country doesn't trust the dollar. They don't want any more U.S. Treasury bonds. They don't want to be a part of our debt scheme anymore. And so they're buying more gold for their holdings to make their currency stronger. And also, they think the price is going to go up. So they thought it was a good buying opportunity. And, Russia has been buying it. They're obviously big believers in gold. They always buy gold when they can. And so it's no surprise that they're continuing to buy more gold.
And as that's happening, we begin to realize that also in the militarily, there's been a lot of movement by Russia, moving a lot of their assets, and I'm talking a lot of these, their ships, planes, and of course with the tensions going on down in South Asia, and also the Middle East. I mean, without question, Russia is everywhere now. They're sitting there in Syria. So there is we're getting some indication that Putin may also be building up a war chest here a little bit in times of potential global conflict.
Yeah, it's another way for them to strengthen their country to the world. Obviously, they're building out their military. They're continuing to grow that part, and they're starting to encroach on a lot of different places in the world, as you mentioned. So yeah, they want to show that they're strong, and buying gold is one of the great ways to do it, to let the world know that, hey, we can pick up so many tons of gold. It's no big deal. We'll sock it away for a rainy day, and so they're continuing to do that. And I think the world is bracing themselves for an economic collapse. And I think we're going to see more countries buying gold and silver and moving away from treasury notes and paper money. It's just bound to happen. And so makes sense that they want to get something tangible for their portfolio.
So then getting away from paper money is because, as you know, quantum easing, we've been doing this now, and the central bankers, and it's just been print after printing. At some point, this monopoly money, this cheap money, is going to have no value. And again, tangible assets like gold and silver will. Let me ask you a question. As this is taking place, we got to be concerned about inflation. And I just saw today that President Trump's approval ratings hit 50% for the first time. He's at 50% now across the nation. Yeah. It has to be over his economic plan. You know, I mean, I would say the way he's handling the shooting in Florida too, he's getting a lot of high marks for that. And standing down, really standing up against North Korea is not hurting him either. But sure. What do you think? I mean, inflation wise, I mean, when is this thing? We've got to stop printing money, don't we?
You would think so. You know, I think politicians, you know, nowadays they forget about the average American that, you know, saves money and puts money in a savings account. And unfortunately, those savings accounts, they don't keep up with inflation like they used to. You know, in the 1980s, you could get a CD or you could put money into savings. You're making 12 to 16%, and you could really keep up. Today, you know, you're making 0.5% if you're lucky, 0.25%. I saw the 30-year Treasury note today is at, you know, a little over 3.5%, but that means you got to lock up your money for 30 years to get that kind of return. And I think most people, they need access and want access to their money. So, you know, what's happening with inflation is something that's been swept under the rug, and people aren't talking about it. Except when you go to the supermarket or you talk to your friends and you say, wait a minute, I used to be able to buy a 4-pack of hamburgers for, you know, $2.50, and now it's $3.50 or $4. I mean, every little bit, all those little small numbers add up over time. Orange juice, milk, I mean, everything we're buying day to day. Obviously, healthcare has gone up dramatically and kind of getting out of control. But there's so many things that are going up on a daily basis, and I don't think our wages or our income are going up as quickly, unfortunately. So I don't see them cutting back spending. I think they're just going to continue to print money, unfortunately, and that's why you have to look at your finances, your money, and make sure that you're in some assets that will outperform those numbers. And, you know, we've been helping people get out of equities and stocks for the last, you know, many years. And I think right now, more than ever, people are saying, if I can take this profit that I have in the Dow or the S&P and slide it into something like gold and silver and avoid a collapse and hopefully, you know, make a nice return and be safe, that's what we've been helping people do. So, yeah, I mean, we have an inflation book. You have it there. Called Government Lies Exposed. It talks about inflation. Our second ebook, if people call in, they want it, it'll be ready next week. It's going to talk about our U.S. debt. And our actual U.S. debt reported, this came out about a week ago. This is from the Treasury. Our liabilities on our books for the U.S. is above $100 trillion. $100 trillion.
Wow.
And yeah, we have an economist, John Williams from Shadow Stats. He breaks down the numbers so that you and I can understand it, and it's unbelievable. I looked at the report. It's going to be ready for release next week. So if anybody calls in, just tell them to let them know that they want to be on the list when that comes out. But yeah, our liabilities in this country are $100 trillion.
So, folks, there you see it. Brock, put it back on the screen if you would. Government Lies Exposed, Part 1, Inflation. And you can get a copy of this confidential report. This is a great information here. If you simply go to noblegoldinvestments.com, noblegoldinvestments.com, and get a copy of this Government Lies Exposed, number one issue, Inflation. And like you said, the second book that's coming out, also you can ask about that, get that a new release, get that information. It will be very beneficial. One way to do is simply call the number. You can go to the website if you want to at noblegoldinvestments.com, but they also have a telephone number that's available 24 hours a day. And that number, if I'm right, Colin, is 877-646-5347. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. And they can request any of the guides that we have. We have information on gold and silver. We have the silver guide. We have the inflation guide. And then next week we're going to have, this report that I think people will be, really surprised to hear that our debt is that high. And, now kind of talking about what you mentioned is now, interest rates are going up for homes. And a lot of people probably remember what happened in 2008. That was the beginning of the pullback and the collapse, because your mortgage rate right now is at 4.5%. A few months ago, it was at 3.5%. So what that's going to do is it's going to make buyers cautious, and that's going to slow down the market. And if we see interest rates go above 5, I wouldn't be surprised if we see things really start to pull back dramatically. And usually when you see that housing bubble pull back, a lot of other things start to crumble, and you see other investments start to pull back. So it's definitely something people should be looking out for when they're watching their investments.
Well, this statistic, 32%. I mean, January of this year, housing sales were down 32% from the year before. That's huge. Now, I don't know if that trend's going to keep up the whole year. I mean, the tax break is just now kicking in. People may feel more comfortable about spending, their purchasing power, what have you. But you're right. If the housing market is down 30% for the year, if that just stayed there, that would definitely have a lasting effect in the next 24 months or so. It's going to spin off into a lot of areas. And also, as you're talking about the home sales are falling and mortgage rates creeping up a little bit here, what happens whenever housing sales go down? Do remodeling? I'm talking Main Street here for a minute, but does remodeling pick up, or does it just remain stagnant?
No, because most people that remodel typically take money out of their house to do the remodel, and so that cost of money is going to get more expensive. I think what you find is that everybody gets very tight during these types of times, because people start to say, and it's a great feeling when your housing value goes up. And so when you see that happening over the last, 8 years, maybe you took out some money and did a remodel. But when prices start to pull back and the interest rates go up, people get tight. They don't remodel their homes. They don't do anything like that. And then it's just a tumbling effect. As other people get nervous, everybody starts looking around and going, hey, maybe this isn't going to continue to go up forever, and that's when things get a little bit of nerve-wracking. And in 2008 we saw it happen very quickly. Pullbacks happen quick in the stock market, in the housing market. They tend to happen in a very short amount of time. Upticks in both of those markets take time, and tend to be steady and slow. But the pullbacks tend to be very quick, and you can go back 2008. 2001, 1987, all of those pullbacks happen within 3 to 6 months. So it happens fast, so you have to be prepared for it.
And folks, those of you who've been following us, know that we've been talking about the 7-year cycle. The 2001, of course, that was the year of 9/11, and it was also the year of a pullback in the stock market, the housing market, the job market, really took a beating. Then 2008, as Colin has already said, it happened again. All three markets went down, quite a bit of a pullback, especially jobs. They were losing jobs over 1 million a month for a while there. And the biggest foreclosures we've ever had, 2010, 2011, 2012. So here we are now. It's been another 7 years. It's the year 2018. And to be honest with you, Colin, if you watch on the business news or you watch some of the mainstream talking heads, they're not out ahead of this thing. You guys, and that's why we brought you in here. We knew right away Vladimir Putin buying 18.7 tons of gold. That just doesn't happen every day. So there's some shifting, there's some movement going on, there's somebody's preparing for an adjustment. Do you see that? Today I know the stock market's up 300 points, but I know Bitcoin's down now under 10,000. Yet gold up a little bit more, kind of holding steady at like $1,331 an ounce. So gold, do you think stays steady? Precious metals, or you see them staying steady even if the housing market and job market fluctuates?
Absolutely. And I think that when you look at the price of gold and silver, you have to look at inflation too, because people look at the price and they say, oh, gold's in the 1300s. Maybe it's expensive, but you forget about the cost of everything else that you're buying that has a limited supply has gone up dramatically. It's the same idea. When you talk about that number for Russia, how much gold, almost 19 tons, there's only enough gold in the whole world to fill little less than 2 Olympic-sized swimming pools. So 19 tons of gold is a dramatic amount in the world scheme, and they bought that amount of gold. There's not that much gold in the world. Each year, with all the mining in every country in the world, the gold supply only goes up 1%. If our dollar supply only went up 1%, we wouldn't see the inflation that we see today, if that makes any sense, kind of analogy there. So I think that when you look at these numbers and you say, 19 tons of gold that Russia bought, how much, that doesn't, for Russia, that's not that big of a deal. That's a dramatic amount of gold that they just acquired. And obviously, when you look at the price of it, they know in the long term that price is a bargain, because look where the prices could go of everything. Gasoline's gone up, food costs. I mean, you look at everything going up. So why wouldn't gold and silver? Silver's an industrial metal that's used in so many things. Why wouldn't the cost of that go up exponentially more also? And it will, and it's going to. And that's why we're here and we're telling people that the price is low. It's a good time to get in, and it's a good time to diversify.
Yeah, so there you go, folks. Colin Plume is with us, noblegoldinvestments.com. You can give him a call right away. Go to their website if you'd like to do that, noblegoldinvestments.com. And what I like about it, Christian company, good people, I mean, Charles and Colin and all of them really, really care about the customer. And we've had that kind of feedback. We've heard from our followers who have contacted Noble Gold Investments and have had a very, very pleasant, no pressure type and real educational conversation, so that the common person out there kind of figures out what they need to do. I mean, Colin, there's people working out there. There's no more, you don't get a job anymore and get a 30-year retirement plan. Those days are over, all right? Yeah. So you got people out here, they got 401k, they don't, they got it all in the stock market. And you keep talking about diversifying. So can they actually call you and say, hey, I got this much in my 401k. I'd like to put 25% of it or 15% of it in gold or silver. Can you guys help them do that?
Yeah, I mean, we do all the paperwork. Any 401k with a previous employer, and as you mentioned, kind of to parlay on your point, nobody's staying at jobs 30 years anymore. Most of our people are calling in saying, yeah, I got this old 401k. I haven't touched it in a while. And what do I do? Can I roll it over? And we do all that paperwork for you. We'll call the custodian. Our staff will actually get on the conference call and walk you through the paperwork. We know that paperwork can be tough and time consuming, so we do all that for you. But I think that there's a lot of those accounts kind of hanging out there, a lot of people that forgot about money. The numbers are staggering. Maybe next time we talk, we'll talk about it. There's so much money out there that people forget in old 401ks, old pensions. I mean, it's billions of dollars that people have just, they left a job and they didn't realize that, maybe they put some money in, the employer had put some money in there and they got $15,000 sitting there. I mean, it happens every day. We get that call. I forgot I had this money. And it's like, what do you mean you forgot? This is money that you earned. You worked at this company. You should do something with it. So, the fact that we can help them and at least help them find where the money is and let them know that they can put it with us, or at least they should keep their eyes on their money, because obviously nobody keeps a better track of your money than you. And so, that's something that is important to us, is that, sometimes people say, I have an account and maybe it only has a few $1,000s in it. We're able to help them find that account, and maybe they do something with us or they don't, but at least that person was able to find some money. It's almost found money, and some money that they didn't even know that they had. So there's a lot of old 401ks, IRAs sitting out there that you maybe aren't looking at closely. And if you have thought about metals, or if you have questions, we're here to answer them.
There was a lady, one of our very faithful followers, didn't realize that she had a 401k out there, had been sitting out there. She'd worked 6 years for a bank, and she didn't realize that she had a 401k out there, and that thing had been put in the stock market, and it had really taken a nice ride during that time, and she didn't even know anything about it. And finally, she found it. And it was a nice surprise. And so she wrote me a letter and says, praise God. I mean, look, I was praying for a way the Lord to help me I needed a financial turnaround, but it happened. So
it's a great story. I love hearing that, Pastor Paul. So even if they don't ever do anything in metals, if they have an account, they want to learn how to find it, or we can help them in any way. I mean, that story is great, because you'd be surprised. There's websites out there where you can find lost money, and there is so many people that have inheritances that they haven't claimed. There's money from Social Security that they haven't claimed. There's pensions. I mean, it's billions and billions of dollars. So, even if we can help someone find that, I mean, that's such a beautiful story that helped her. And, it always seems to come at the right time when you really need it. So that makes me happy. I'm happy.
And I'm really glad to hear that your company does that, because you can help people find, because here's what happens. I know this is probably one of the scenarios. You got people out here, they've been working, they've worked maybe 2, 3, 4 jobs in their lifetime, and dad dies, okay?
Yeah.
And he's got a son, he's got a daughter. They don't even can't even quite remember where all he worked at. They think they have all the estate together, and he's got a 401k sitting out here where he worked 9 years somewhere, I mean, that's the kind of thing, if you can help people, they need to get their hands on it. And then they may want to take that and diversify that into some gold or into some other way, Bitcoin or whatever. You guys are able to give them direction, help them. I'm still thinking that, you remember when the United States used to be on a gold standard, and we went away from that. How do you feel about that? I mean, should we have stayed with that, or what would have been, or what's your take?
Absolutely. I think we would, every average American would be in a much better position if we didn't go off the gold standard, because our dollar would be so much stronger than it is today. That's the reason that China and Russia are buying gold. They eventually want to go to at least a partially backed currency by gold and silver. I think once we went off that, I mean, you look at the inflation numbers from 1971 to now, and it's astronomical. I mean, just little things that you forget about. Like a Happy Meal was a quarter, now it's $6 or whatever it costs now. I mean, just every number that you look at, every cost of everything has gone up. So, yeah, I think going off the gold standard was a huge mistake. Ronald Reagan wanted to go back on the gold standard, but the people around him convinced him not to do it. But no, I think going off the gold standard, a lot of politicians, they glance over it, they don't really talk about it. But our currency would be the dominant currency in terms of strength, because it would be worth something. And $1, you'd be able to buy something with $1. It wouldn't be like it is today. So I think it's a shame we went off the gold standard.
What about Venezuela? I mean, we're finding out today that Venezuela is launching a petro gold. I mean, Venezuela's broke, busted, and disgusted. The last time I checked, what in the world is petro gold, and how is that going to work?
So it's a cryptocurrency. So basically, their idea is they'll offer one of this petro gold for it'll be for a future, backed by a future barrel of oil. That kind of promise from that kind of government, I wouldn't put a lot of weight behind it. I mean, it's not really, it's based on some kind of future, basically it's based on a barrel of oil that hasn't been pulled out of the ground. I don't know why anybody would accept that kind of currency from them when they've inflated their currency. And I think they say like 90% of the people there are in poverty because of what's happened with their currency in that country. So I don't know anyone that would trust that. If they wanted to go to a new currency, they should have tried either doing something with gold and silver, or tried Bitcoin at least, because Bitcoin has a tracking and it's, it can't be manipulated the way that their cryptocurrency is. So I wouldn't trust it. I think it's just a way. It's another way for that president it's another money grab, unfortunately.
What's unbelievable, and as you know, Venezuela was a thriving economy. Now, they were a democracy. They were free enterprise, free market. And when Hugo Chavez took over, he got with the communists, and they convinced him to try to, basically become a dictatorship, totalitarian dictator, and he started to just grab the people's farms, take this business, take that industry, take this factory. And, you know, after a while, you know, why would you want to get in business in Venezuela, you know, when you have that kind of an unstable government, a corrupt government like that? So Hugo Chavez does all this. You know, he's cheapening he's just took over the entire oil industry in Venezuela. He took over General Motors. He took over their plants. I mean, it's insane, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it is. Absolutely. And, you know, how often do you hear a country, you know, there are some exceptions, but a country that has that much oil, that much agriculture, that the people are suffering the way that it is. It's a sad state of affairs there. This latest attempt, you know, there might be some people out there that are gonna, you know, maybe they think there's some potential with this currency that they're releasing, but I don't think there's any stability behind it. I wouldn't touch it. I would avoid it at all costs. And I think that it's you know, hopefully over time there'll be something that'll change there, and the people can move out of that kind of poverty, because it's I mean, the photos coming out of there and everything you hear, this, you know, malnutrition and the water and just everything that you read it's atrocious. It's so sad.
I got one quick.
I would be cautious of this petrocurrency.
I know, real quick here, I wanted to get your opinion, and maybe next time we can get in this a little deeper, but BRICS, okay? Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. They've come together. They're building a financial coalition. They're talking about a brand new currency from those nations. What's your take on that?
Well, it's been going on for a long time. They've wanted to have a currency that isn't. They want to offer alternative currencies besides the dollar as the reserve currency. So they've talked about offering all of their currencies plus the dollar, plus a gold and silver backed currency, so that countries can decide what to trade and barter with. That's the big benefit of us being the world's reserve currency, is anytime you see a large transaction between countries, most of the time they're going to use the dollar. So they're going to trade their currency in for the dollar, and that gives us a real strategic advantage. These countries say, listen, the debt is horrible there. I don't want to buy oil with the dollar anymore. I want to have some flexibility. So I want to be able to use gold and silver, or I want to be able to use the yuan, or, you know, different currencies that are available. And so it gives them some flexibility. And they've been trying to do that for at least the last 5 years that I can remember. We'll see. You know, I think if our dollar takes a big tumble and the world sentiment is there, and people say, yeah, we're fed up, it could definitely happen. That would be devastating for our currency, because that's the real advantage we have here, is that we're the reserve currency and we can print money at will. And that gives us an advantage in the world. But we'll see what happens. We'll see if they're able to pass anything like that. And the momentum's been there. People have wanted to do it. It's just never happened.
So let's keep a close eye then on Putin and the Russian gold rush, because if Putin and Russia are working, trying to really secure their currency, strengthen it with gold, and China's also doing the same thing. They're both part of the BRIC relationship there. I'm not sure what India is doing, but I'm going to be in India not long from now. And I remember, I don't know what the rupee is compared to the dollar, but it's the last time I was there 20 years ago, it was like 100 to 1. It may even be higher now. I don't know. But all the nations of the world are trying to figure out a way to secure themselves, and you can't blame them for that. We do have the advantage. We're the United States. We have a thriving economy and a great. We got to make sure our government, folks, doesn't become so corrupt. Because if the government gets so corrupt that people lose total confidence, that is how a world could turn and form a new, who's the leading currency, who's going to be the standard. And we got to hope it stays with us. Colin,
absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. But what we're talking about is just being prepared. Hopefully, we're always the world's reserve currency. Obviously, that's great for us. It's great for everybody here in this country. It gives us an unbelievable advantage as a trading partner. So, hopefully, none of these things happen. But we're just talking about making sure that you're prepared and keeping your eyes open. And that's the great thing about your channel is that you're not in the mainstream. You're letting people know things that aren't always talked about. And you're giving people education, and I think that's a real benefit for people to keep their eyes open.
We really appreciate that, Colin. I really do. And folks, again, Colin Plume, noblegoldinvestments.com. Check out their website. Go there, find out everything they got going on, or call the number if you got questions and you'd like to pursue a little bit into this. They will really help you. The number again on the screen: 877-646-5347. Colin, we appreciate you being with us. Wow, we really got into some stuff here. Help us keep it. Next time you come on, keep us up to date on what's happening.
Absolutely, Pastor Paul. A pleasure. Nice talking to you, and we'll definitely talk to you soon.
All right. God bless all of you. Thank you so much, Colin. And we'll be back next time with more right here on The Coming Apocalypse.